today we are going to be looking at all of the NASCAR throwback paint schemes that will be making their way onto the racetrack this weekend. Let's get into it. Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. My name is Cameron Simpson. Happy on Wednesday, CD coming out Friday night, Saturday morning, filming it on Friday. Today we're going to take a look at each and every one of the NASCAR throwback paint schemes that are going to be out on the racetrack this weekend. There's plenty of them that are going to be making their premiere out this weekend on the racetrack, and I'm excited to see them. We're going to look at them, we're going to rate them, and we're going to pick my favorite at the end here. So let's get into it right now. We're going to start with Trackhouse Racing. We're starting with the number 1 car of Ross Chastain. Ross Chastain is both throwing it back to Coca-Cola, and they are throwing it back to the present and past of Coca-Cola. Here's a side-by-side of the two cars that will be running this weekend. Very cool look, cool shot. Like seeing what we got here. Now this is, take a look just specifically at the 1 cars. I think we have that shot. That's a decent paint scheme. When we look at the 99 as well, good. Trackhouse blew it out with this throwback to Coca-Cola. Very well done. Trackhouse has blown it out all season long. This one is a great throwback paint scheme. The colors look great. The car looks mint. Excited to see that on the track this weekend. Okay, next we're going to the 2 car of Austin Cindric. What is Too Tough to Theme throwback weekend without a Rusty Wallace number 2 car? And that is what they're going there with the Menards Racing colors. So, okay, that is, now the slid back numbers obviously sometimes call people to go crazy because they're like, slid back numbers. Not bad. I like kind of that mark on the side that kind of sticks out on the 2. I kind of like the little edges. It does look like a classic Penske car. But I mean the colors, I'm not sure about the colors on the car. You know, it's a little dicey for me. All right, Kevin Harvick's car. Kevin Harvick is throwing it back to chasing a Cure paint scheme that he ran in 2012 and 2011 in their 15th NASCAR season. Darlington Marks Ream 500th race as a partner in the sport, supporting St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital. So this is a great paint scheme. The pink actually looks really well. I like the pink on the car. I think it looks cool. I like the throwback. I like what they're doing it to. Great work there. So, I mean, overall, very decent job there. I like the scheme because it looks good. The pink looks sick on the car. And Ream, obviously, shouting out them for another season being part of the sport. Okay, Kevin Harvick, not Kevin Harvick, excuse me. The 5 car is throwing it back here as well. It doesn't tell me who, but he is throwing it back with this car. And this is a classic car he's throwing it back to, one of the ones in the olden days, and this is a great car. I really like the look. It looks like a classic look. It looks like a car that I don't see on the racetrack all the time. It's a classic style. I like the lines with the star. I think this fits well. Hendrick did a good job with this car. This one's up there. So far, this is the best one we've seen. This car is the best car that we've seen so far for the throwbacks. Okay, Brad Keselowski has a throwback. I think the 6 paint scheme, it looks solid. It looks like a good car. I mean, it looks okay. And for the 17, it looks exactly like a Matt Kenseth's replica. This is a great paint scheme. Those classic 17 back on the racetrack is amazing to see. 10-4, 100%. I love it. It looks exactly the same as that old Matt Kenseth car that needs to be out on the racetrack. Great job by that team. Great job by everyone involved to get that car out there. Amazing work. Alright, our next is the 7, and it's not just a regular 7. This is the 777 paying tribute to country music legend and NASCAR driver Marty Robbins. This car is insane. This is great. And the attention to detail in this car is amazing. Now, the best part is the 777. I love that part of this paint scheme. Really, again, attention to detail, really putting it in there in full scheme. The 777, I'm surprised NASCAR allowed them to do that, because that's shocking to me that NASCAR approved that, but it looks very good. This is the best throwback on the list right now. Look at how clean this car looks. It looks good. It's got the solid purple, some of the white on it. It looks mint. I really do enjoy this paint scheme. I think this one will look like great out there on the racetrack. Alright, Chase Elliott is next, and he is throwing it back to the 93 car of Jimmy Means, his old Napa car. And it looks like an exact replica of the car. Just the slid number, of course, kind of wrecks it, but the designers did a decent job with that. The cars look exactly the same side by side to each other. Whoever did this design did a great job. The designers team for Chase Elliott deserves a pat on the back. This car looks exactly the same. Looks like an exact replica. That's great. This is a great car. Not as good as the 777, but the attention to detail here is good. The car looks great. Alright, our next one is going to be Eric Almirola. He is going to give a nod to his grandfather, Sam Rodriguez, a legendary sprint car racer in Florida. This car looks decent. I like the look on it, that red, the 10, the font change. I like the way they changed the font. I always like the font change that they put on the car. That gray, that kind of stainless steel looks great on that 10 car. Decent car there. Alright, now we have Denny Hamlin's throwback. Toyota is celebrating its 1500th race in NASCAR with a special throwback schemes at the Too Tough to Tame. To commemorate the milestone, Denny Hamlin will lead the campaign with his throwback to his 2016 Daytona 500 win. So you guys know my feelings on drivers throwing it back to themselves. I don't really like it when drivers throw it back to themselves. It doesn't fit to the throwback. You're still in the sport. I don't know why you throw it back to yourself. Denny Hamlin, it's okay. Denny Hamlin's kind of proven himself in the sport into a degree, so I don't mind it as much, and the car looks sick. The car looks really good. The paint scheme looks just like that 2011 car. Just the slid number, I get it. I know the slid number is going to come into play, but besides that, it looks great. The car looks mint. It's an amazing paint scheme. The attention to detail is there. It looks great. It looks the car looks good. I mean, that 11 with the stripes, that classic FedEx purple with black, was one of my favorite paint schemes that Denny Hamlin have. I wish they did not go back. I kind of wish they didn't go to the white car, because this car looks so good out there in the racetrack. Alright, Chase Briscoe is throwing it to the Target Chip Ganassi Racing Oldsmobile that Tony Stewart drove a while back, and it looks good. I mean, look at that. It gets a little lightning bolt, the all red, the 14 car. The car looks very good. It looks good. I like the 14 font kind of didn't change, but the old red, it does look very classic to the original car. Rick Ware Racing is going to reveal their throwback paint schemes. Let's take a look at them. The 15 car of J.J. Yaley, that's his throwback. Okay, it's a decent one. He's throwing it back to... They're both throwing it back to the same guys. I mean, it's okay. The scheme's nothing too impressive. The 51 is definitely a better one. The 15 kind of looks like the original car. It kind of looks like the old flex tape car they used to run. That's what the 15 looks like. And the 51 of Cody Ware looks okay. It looks more classic than the other one. Kyle Busch will be running an M&M's chocolate throwback for the first paint scheme as a primary sponsor. So this is the first scheme that M&M's had as a primary sponsor in NASCAR. You get the classic M&M's, obviously. They look great. The classic cartoon characters on the M&M car looks great. It's also a great paint scheme because this is it for M&M's. M&M's is done after this year, so they wanted to run one for M&M's. And I think the scheme looks good. The classic characters really adds to the touch. The bright blue font, I think, looks amazing. And I like the little M&M's on the bottom. Great primary car. And the rainbow stuff on the front, you know, that rainbow on the front and the back, I think looks mint. This paint scheme is very well done. Kyle Busch is always hit or miss on his throwbacks. This one was definitely a hit, in my opinion. On to the 20 car of Christopher Bell. And he is throwing it back to himself in that 2017 championship winning truck season. Well, let me start with the paint scheme. It looks great. I like the Sirius XM is involved. It looks just like his old car, besides this lit up number that kind of cuts off like that area there where the lines kind of shift in. But besides that, the car looks very well. The problem I have with this, and this is where it comes to drivers throwing it back to themselves. In my opinion, the 20 car should not be throwing it back to himself. I feel like he's done this before. I feel like Christopher Bell is a driver that has already thrown it back to himself in his career before. In my opinion, he should not be throwing it back to himself. He's not there yet. He's not a champion of the sport. He's not a guy that's won many races. You know, he's not there yet. And that's where I stand on this. The car looks great. Throwback, I'm glad Sirius XM's involved. But I don't think a driver fresh in the sport should be throwing it back to himself. I feel like Bell's done it before too. Wood Brothers in this paint scheme is great. Jeff Burton's son, what's his name? What's the kid's name? Harrison Burton. My bad. Why did I blank out like that? Harrison Burton will be running a paint scheme that is compared to one of Jeff Burton's old paint schemes. The car looks absolutely insane. I love the paint scheme. The colors just flow. This one is taking the top, guys, because of the intention of detail. The lightning bolt going through, the blue, the pinks, the whites. It is the exact same car that Jeff Burton ran years ago, and it is amazing. They could not have done better on that paint scheme. Very good. Very good. All right. Joey Logano is going to be throwing it back to a car that he drove as a child in the late 90s in Connecticut. So that is what it looks like. It's the red. It's got the gold lettering. Looks good. The Pennzoil logo kind of sticks out like a sore thumb. I think the Pennzoil logo sticks out. I don't know if that's how it looked on his original car. It might have, so maybe it doesn't stick out as much. But it kind of sticks out a little bit. I don't think maybe it's not as bad as I think. Yeah, no, the original car was a late model car, so there really was no logo. The Pennzoil logo doesn't look great, but he added a touch in the back where it says, "Thanks, Mom and Dad," especially where it's Mother's Day this weekend. That's a great touch there. Okay, Bubba Wallace, and he is throwing it back to his 2008 late model scheme for Darlington Raceway. I don't really know. I don't think Bubba Wallace is another driver that I don't think should be throwing it back to himself. I don't understand why he's throwing it back to himself. Him and Christopher Bell both have not proven anything in this sport where you could just throw something up there that's you on throwback weekend. It makes me so mad when you have young drivers that really haven't proved anything yet who decide to do a throwback of themselves. Plus this car, I mean, I guess if you followed Bubba Wallace's career, you'll have an appreciation for this car, but someone for me who really doesn't follow these drivers as closely besides Kyle Busch in his whole career, I wouldn't understand the importance of this scheme. I don't think the average fan will. So that one's an for me. It's actually probably one of the worst. This one is amazing. Amazing paint scheme, all in all. This is might take the crown here. So this is the William Byron's paint scheme, and he is throwing it back to Jeff Gordon, the number 24. William Byron, this scheme is back. The fire scheme is back, and trust me, it looks absolutely amazing. Yeah, this is it. This is taking the crown away. This paint scheme is great. The fire, the colors, those rainbow kind of colors coming back to life is what we want. And it looks just like the car. The fire, it all looks good. Now I wish the 24, hopefully the 24 doesn't throw it back to Jeff Gordon all the time, but it does look fire. The car looks good, and it's that Jeff Gordon car on the track again. It's very good. The colors are, I feel like there's a lot more blue on it than there is on the Jeff Gordon original car. That's probably my one critique. Besides that, the car looks really well. But the designers could have done a little less blue. Okay, Cole Custer will honor Jason Leffer, throwing it back to the driver who earned Haas CNC race's first win. I don't see the difference here in the throwback. It looks very similar to the original car that the 41 runs each and every week. There really is not much of a difference there for me, but it is a decent one. Solid scheme, it just doesn't look different. Yeah, I mean, besides the front of the car does look different. Those logos on the front look good. That looks different, but besides that, it really doesn't look much different at all. Okay, the 42 will be thrown back to the 1959 Daytona 500. He'll be honoring Lee and Richard Petty this weekend on Too Tough to Tame. So the 42, that's the car that they're running. Great paint scheme, obviously. It looks very well out there with the Petty GMS on the side. The solid just all white with the orange. It looks like an old classic paint scheme. It looks very good. I like this scheme very much. Now, Eric Jones, same deal. Looks classic. Honoring Petty, big deal. The car looks classic. It's got, oh my god, the car looks mint. This car looks very good. It is honestly this is like the throwback of the throwbacks. This is a solid throwback paint scheme that looks like a throwback. That could do very well. It's not going to quite get the 24, but it looks like a classic car. It will look like a classic car out there. Alright, the 45 car will be thrown back. Kurt Busch will be honoring NASCAR legend Bill Elliott McDonald's scheme. There is the McDonald's scheme. You can't really mess up those iconic McDonald's colors, the white, the red, the way it's all shaped. It looks good. Solid paint scheme. The only critique I really have on this car is why is there a Monster Energy logo on the side of the car when the throwback's about McDonald's, not Monster Energy. So I feel like Monster Energy needed to get their money in. They needed to get some money in on this paint scheme. And that's kind of where it went wrong. But besides that, car's solid. Besides that, the car is solid. From one generation to the next, we're going to be looking at Mark Martin and Alex Bowman's throwing it back to Mark Martin. The Ally colors changed for a red, a light blue, and a dark blue. This is a solid throwback paint scheme that looks like the classic Valvoline colors. Looks great. The Ally on the front. Kudos to Ally for changing their colors for a weekend to support this throwback. It's something that doesn't happen very often. These teams are always against changing, but this is good. This paint scheme just kind of flows. It feels like a natural scheme that I could see Alex Bowman running. So, very good for them. All right, BJ McLeod is throwing it back to... they're going to run some special schemes to look at Orlando Speedway from 2004. So that's kind of what the car looks like there with the fire on the side. That is it for our throwback cars. I think we got them all for the most part. Very well done. I thought they did a very decent job. 17 of Chris Buescher's paint scheme is very good. 6 car, very good paint schemes all in all. So great work by the teams to get these paint schemes in. And Roush Fenway Racing, 6 and the 12. I like the 12 paint scheme. The 17's paint scheme looks very good. The 6th paint scheme looks very good. So that is kind of where I stand on that. Thank you so much for watching this video. Hopefully you enjoy it, and I will see you on the next one. Cut. Alright, I'm going to go back in and replace for the 6.